Minecraft just released the newest game drop, the Copper Age. This update adds a cute item sorting copper golems, the hotbar swapping shelves that are basically vertical slabs, new copper weapons, tools, and armor, and lots of new copper blocks. There's a lot of stuff in this update, so let's check out everything new. One of the main purposes of this update is to give copper a lot more uses, especially for the early game. One of the best new uses for copper is copper armor, so this is going to make it a lot easier to get armored up in the early game. Of course, the recipes for all of these things are exactly what you would expect. Now, this armor is going to be a little bit worse than iron, of course, but it's going to be better than leather. Now, with copper armor, we also have a brand new set of copper weapons and tools too, and of course, these all have just the standard recipe. Side note, yes, you can smelt all of this stuff down in a furnace, and that'll give you 1 copper nugget. These are going to be important for later. A fun thing about the copper armor is that some hostile mobs, like zombies and skeletons, can actually spawn wearing it. Now, unlike regular copper blocks, these tools, weapons, and armor do not oxidize or change color over time. They're always just this standard copper color, which I think is a massive missed opportunity, because then you have naturally spawned mobs in the world that look like they have brand new armor, even though they're in theory like hundreds of years old, maybe? I don't know. Maybe there's some lore implications for them having brand new armor. I don't know. Someone call Matt Pat out of retirement. Also, all the copper tools and weapons are better than stone, but worse than iron, of course. So all the new copper gear can be enchanted in an enchanting table. It can be grindstone, of course, to remove those enchantments, and you can repair it in an anvil with some copper ingots to fully repair it. And you can even trim the armor, and it legitimately looks really good. And yes, this is diamond trimmed copper armor because, I mean, you gotta flex on people somehow. Another new thing in this update, at least for Bedrock Edition, is the ability to see armor ratings and armor toughness in the inventory now. So you can see that leather has an armor of 3. You'll see that diamond armor actually gives you +2 armor toughness, and netherite gives you the knockback resistance. So finally, we have the ability to see some basic information about our armor. But wait, there's more! We also have a copper horse armor in this update as well, and of course, it is uncraftable. So you have to find this stuff in dungeons. It has the same chance and rarity as iron horse armor. So anywhere you can find iron, you can also find the copper. I don't mean to be a naysayer, but I think you should like this. Get it? Naysayer? Now, by far, the most important thing in this entire update is the Copper Golem, Minecraft's newest passive mob that you can summon anytime you want. This guy is absolutely adorable, and he's also a walking, not talking, but he does make a lot of noise, item sorter, so he will automatically sort out your items for you. And with the Copper Golem, we also have copper statues being added as well, but we'll talk about those later. So to get the most out of the Copper Golem, there's a few mechanics you should know about, like summoning them. You just need a copper block and then a pumpkin, and that gives you the copper golem and a copper chest, which you will be needing. Now, these guys do slowly oxidize over time, meaning that they're going to turn into a copper golem statue. So this means that you'll either need to wax your golems, that way they stay functional, or you'll have to go over and scrape them every now and again. So the copper golem is going to search the area for up to 10 copper chests until he finds an item to grab out of there and sort. He only grabs 16 items at a time, and then he's going to search the area for 10 regular chests to put items into. So if the chest is completely empty, he's going to put whatever item he's holding directly into that chest. But now that this chest has some cobblestone in it, the only thing he's ever going to put in here is other bits of cobblestone. But now this guy is holding dirt, and he's looking for either dirt inside this chest, which there isn't any, or he's looking for another empty chest to put that dirt into. So this is the basics of how we can build up a sorting system using the copper golem. Now, the only thing that the copper golem can actually put items into are regular chests and trap chests. So that's literally it. So the only way that this guy can pick up items is by getting them out of a copper chest. You cannot give him items. He doesn't pick them up off the ground, but you can interact with them when he's holding an item to actually make him drop it. Now, if the copper golem is actively looking for chests, then he's actually going to wait around the chest that you're currently opening. So he's not going to go off and do other things while I'm inside this chest. And also, he won't go past this one as I'm like actually opening it and doing things. And you can see he's currently just waiting right there patiently, waiting for me to either change or update the inventory. Now, once I leave it, then he's going to go ahead and search it and sort it. Now, this guy's also going to search a 32 block area horizontally and an 8 block area vertically based on where he is standing. So I believe that it would be like 4 above, 4 below, and 16 in every direction. Also, fun fact, if you give your guy a totem of undying, he can actually use that. As you can see, now he's got the potion effect. Some other stuff you should know is that the copper golem does not take any fall damage, just like every other golem in the game. However, he does take a lot of fire damage, like very quickly. This cute little guy cannot drown though, although you would think he would oxidize faster underwater. He doesn't. Mojang doesn't. They don't do that. Now you can get the copper golem into a boat. You can get it into a minecart. You can also lead the golem as well, send it through portals, basically all of the normal stuff that you would expect. Now, when the copper golem is leaded, he's not actually going to be sorting any items or searching any chests. So if you want to have one of these guys around in your storage room just as decoration, you can just like lead them to something or lead them to something under the floor so they don't move, and that would stop them from sorting. I have a tutorial on the way with 5 copper golem sorting systems, so subscribe, that way you don't miss it. As fun as it would be, the little lightning rod on their head doesn't appear to really attract lightning. However, if they do get struck by lightning, then they will actually lose some of their oxidization level. There's also a rare Easter egg where an iron golem holding a poppy, which usually will be trying to give them to baby villagers, can actually give that poppy to a copper golem and place it on top of them. Now, it is pretty rare for an iron golem to actually hold a poppy. I'm pretty sure they have to be from a village spawn, so like an iron farm would work, and then they have to be like near baby villagers, but it's just uncommon. Now, luckily for us, there is a simple command where you can just summon these guys in with the poppies, and that's what they look like. They are absolutely adorable. If you ever do have one of these, I'd suggest you keep it because they seem kind of rare, but you can shear the poppy off of them. So about the copper golem statues, these guys are really easy to get. So anytime you summon in a copper golem that has the high oxidization like this, or really any guy, they will eventually oxidize and turn into a statue. Like this guy right here just turned into a statue right before my eye, and so did that one. Now, if you summon these guys in with the waxed copper blocks, then they're not actually going to spawn in a waxed golem, so don't waste your copper blocks on that. But once these guys actually freeze, they are no longer an entity, they are a block, and you can interact with them, and that will change their pose. There is 4 different poses of these. You can see all of these here, and then you can actually scrape these guys as well with an axe, and that'll give you the different oxidization levels of all of these poses. And then once you get them down to the very bare copper level right here, they are 1 away from turning back into an entity. So if we click on this guy again, boom, now he's gonna wake up and turn back into a copper golem, and you can restart that process over again. And of course, if you don't want your copper golems turning into statues, then just wax them. Now, the neat thing about these guys is that if you name tag the copper golem and then it turns into a statue, it'll actually save its name. So as you can see, both of these guys just turned into a statue. And if we go ahead and we wax this guy real quick, I can see his name comes back. Now, the cool thing about this is that you can actually go ahead and mine this block right here. It won't save its name like in the inventory or something, but then if you put it back down and then scrape it and unwax it, then he still has his name, which is like absolute witchcraft. I don't know how they do that, but that is so cool. Another fun fact for you, we also have a new longest name in Minecraft. Do you know what it is? It is waxed weathered copper golem statue. It is so long that it is actually wider than the inventory. I mean, look at that. It's just silly. Yeah, so it's 35 characters if I know how to count, which is just too many. I don't know, man. Does it matter at all? No, but now you know. Another fun fact, you can mine these by hand and they pop off. And also, when you mine a statue, they actually keep their pose in the inventory as well. As you can see, I'm holding this guy and he's actually got like the running pose, and this one has the standing pose. And in first person, they also look really cute as well. And when you place them, they'll have the same pose, of course. And of course, they also stack together up to 64, but it's stacked depending on their pose. So you can't just stack 2 random guys together. They have to be the same pose. Now, these statues are actually immune to lava, as you can see. So by becoming dead, they just ignore fire damage. So lore. And they are also waterloggable as well. Now, these guys aren't just a QB face. They are actually useful as a redstone component. So each one of these poses can be read with a comparator, and the 4 different poses gives 4 different signal strengths. So this one gives a signal strength of 4, the running one gives a signal strength of 3, sitting is 2, and standing is 1. And of course, you can read these through a block as well, so you can have a hidden in plain sight combination lock using a few of the copper golem statues throughout your Minecraft world. And the copper golems can be floating and placed mid-air, so you can also use that for your secret entrances too. This guy's literally sitting on air. Now, that's about it for the redstone uses of these guys as far as I'm aware, but the hitbox of them might actually be kind of useful. It's a 10 by 10 square, whereas a skull is like an 8 by 8 square. However, you cannot push these, so you can't have like a movable power source because they just pop off as an item. Water does not pop these things off, so you can actually use them in water streams. And now we get into the vertical slab shelf of the update. These are one of the best new blocks in Minecraft. There is a lot of these for all of the different types of wood, of course, you're going to be seeing basically every builder in Minecraft just like basically die with excitement building out of these. Now, the reason why these are so good is because they are essentially a vertical slab without having the name of vertical slab, because you can place them in crazy ways like this. You can make closets and coffins and borders around plant boxes and just all kinds of incredible details. And again, they're basically vertical slabs because you can place them mid-air, you can have them floating. However, these are actually a legitimately useful and functional block as well. So you can display any item in the game that you want on these. They have 3 slots, and this is basically what all of the items look like. There was some controversy and some changes throughout the betas. However, I'm happy to announce that like all the items do actually get, you know, displayed in the middle of the slot. They're not sitting at the bottom of the shelf anymore, which makes them much easier to see and spot. And of course, the banners also look really, really nice on there. Sorry, it was supposed to say USB. It's just a little typo, you know. Now, these are way better than item frames because you can actually hold up to a stack of items per slot. And of course, that also means a stack of like 16 snowballs or 1 non-stackable item. Now, these are also a redstone component, which we'll talk more about later, but if you power these, they make a really weird kind of squishy sound, and then if you interact with these, they're actually going to swap out items from your hotbar. So I have 3 items on the right side of the hotbar right now. If I interact with this thing anywhere holding any slot on my hotbar, it's actually going to swap all 3 of these automatically, which is really, really cool. And you can actually tile 3 of these together. So if we power each and every one of these, click anywhere on here, that is going to swap our entire hotbar, which is actually really, really fun. And I can see this being incredibly helpful for different types of projects or exploring or PvP or really whatever you want to do. There's a lot of possibilities here. Now, you can also toggle which one of these is active as well. So if we have just the right 2 active, that is going to swap just the right 6 slots of the hotbar. So there's no way to make it just swap the left 3 or just the middle 3 slots. It's always working from the right side to the left side of the hotbar. So there's a lot of things that you can do with the shelf regarding redstone. Of course, it has a pretty unique hitbox. It can be waterlogged, all of that stuff. However, you can also read with it from a comparator, and it actually has some kind of complicated signal strength math that you can see right there. Now, you can also interact with it with hoppers, of course, as well. So as you can see, it's putting items into it with a hopper, and it's also getting items drained out of it with a hopper. So you can kind of use this as a little bit of clock. If you give it like a stack of items, you can have it be like a countdown clock, which is kind of cool. So yeah, observers can read you putting items into it and taking items out of it, as you can see there, and it can also detect it being powered by redstone too. Now, comparators can only read the signal output of the shelf from the back side right here, but of course they can read through blocks. The back of it can act as a support for certain blocks, which adds a ton of decoration functionality. So obviously you can use buttons or tripwires. It can support things like grindstones or paintings or item frames, torches and levers, and it can also do the glow lichen and skulk veins, but you can't do regular vines on this thing, and you also can't do ladders. Now, ladders is intentional. I saw this somewhere in the changelogs. For some reason, I don't know, man. What, does it make sense? No, but it's just how Minecraft works, allegedly, in my opinion. And this would have actually been really, really cool, because then we could have had like a decorative pillar going up through the middle of the room, and then either had some vines or some ladders going up the middle of this. But I guess we'll just have to use either bubbles or scaffolding like absolute peasants. And a quick note about the copper chest. Of course, there's 8 different types of these because there's all the wax and oxidized versions of them, but they essentially act just like a regular chest in every way, but they sound amazing. Now, there does appear to be a little bit of a bug, so if you place like an oxidized version next to an unoxidized version, boom, they don't like combine or have like a half situation going. But yeah, there's no way to like cheat the system and get 2 fully oxidized ones. Maybe it's not a bug, but it seems a little bit weird. In general, these look really, really cool in every way. There's a lot of detailing on these, like even the bottom of them, it looks really good. Now, copper chests are basically just normal chests in every way, but they're retextured and they're slightly more blast resistant. But they're definitely not impervious to explosions by any means. They will pop off with some TNT. So this is the first new chest added to Minecraft in 12 years. Do you think it's time that they add different types of wooden chests to Minecraft? Because these are technically just oak chests. We could have spruce and bamboo and crimson and acacia. We could have all the different types. There's also been 4 other blocks added in this update. There is the new copper bars, the copper chains, the copper lanterns, and the copper torches. Okay, so technically there there is 25 new blocks because you know how copper goes at this place. Just too much copper. Don't worry about it. So starting with the copper bars, these genuinely do look really, really nice in every way. They are essentially identical to regular iron bars, and that's a theme that you're going to see with all of these. So there's also the copper torches, which are the most basic out of all the new blocks. It's a regular torch, but it's green. And then we also have the copper chains as well. And yeah, these are basically just normal chains. Same thing goes for the copper lanterns. They are identical to normal lanterns. So the recipes for all this stuff is exactly what you would expect, but you're going to need some of those copper nuggets. So get some copper ingots, craft those down into nuggets. And there's actually a reason why these exist, because you need them to craft the copper torches. You're also going to need the nuggies for the copper lanterns, and that also requires the copper torch in the middle there. And you'll need even more nuggies and the ingots if you want to make the copper chains. And then the copper bars are also how you would expect. That's just 6 copper ingots. Now you'll notice that all of this stuff is unoxidized by default. There is absolutely no way to craft the oxidized versions of these, so you will have to actually wait for them to oxidize over time. Now these really are just a retexture of the existing blocks, so the copper torch has the same light level 14 as a regular torch. As you see, if we replace that, there is no change in the room light. Same thing goes for the normal lantern. If we replace that with a copper lantern, it is the exact same light level. You might think that the lanterns are kind of like the copper bulbs, where they get brighter the less oxidization that they have, but you would be wrong. All of these have the exact same light levels because reasons? I honestly couldn't tell you why they don't have variable light levels, but it seems like they really should. They also added new types of lightning rods, so now we have all the waxed and oxidized versions of these things, and honestly, they look really good. Now, interesting thing about these is that the waxed versions do not actually lose their oxidization when they get hit by lightning, and you can see that all lightning rods actually flash white when hit by lightning now. So if you have a regular unwaxed version of these, then as you see, they're going to lose some of their oxidization when they get hit. Now, they did make it so that all the dyes actually have new updated textures in this update, and as you can see, this is what they look like. They did this for accessibility and readability, basically. For those of you still playing with vibrant visuals, there's actually been a ton of bug fixes and updates here that you might be interested in. Now, allegedly, they added an option to get rid of these end flashes somewhere in the video settings of vibrant visuals, but I legitimately cannot find it, and honestly, I'm too distracted by the gigantic spacing of all the settings. Why are they so spaced out? This is what it looks like without a texture pack to fix the spacing. What is happening here? I don't know whose idea was to space everything out, but why there isn't a toggle for this is beyond mind-boggling. It is legitimately bad. So allegedly they fixed the bug where your frozen oceans and frozen rivers would look something like this. This is just the most typical Bedrock edition thing that I possibly could ever think of. So typically this would be a normal icebergs biome, but as you see, it's corrupted like twice, so it should be all ice, but then going through the updates, it turned into a bunch of snow, and now that snow has turned into stone. Okay, so here we are in the latest beta, and I can see all the far out chunks actually look perfectly fine. So it's just the chunks that you actually generated and interacted with that will have this permanent issue in your Minecraft world. So that's kind of unfortunate, but generally it should be fine as long as you haven't actually explored that area too much or interacted with the chunks. Previously, like, all of this was just absolutely ruined. If you'd like Minecraft news, then drop a like on the video, share it around, and subscribe so you don't miss future updates. But thank you for watching.